The judge didn't even look at me when he said it. Custody is awarded to the mother. Assets will be transferred accordingly. That was it. No dramatic pause, no sympathy, just words that erased my life. I stood there in a courtroom that smelled faintly of old paper and polished wood, my hands clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. On the other side of the room, my ex-wife Claire dabbed her eyes with a tissue, playing the part she'd perfected over the last year. If there were Oscars for courtrooms, she would have won one. My lawyer leaned toward me and whispered, "I'm sorry." Sorry. That word followed me as I walked out of the courthouse alone. Sorry for losing my children. Sorry for losing the $3.5 million mansion I'd worked my entire adult life to buy. Sorry for trusting the wrong person. I didn't cry, not then. I didn't scream either. I just felt hollow, like someone had reached inside me and scooped everything out. The fall. 3 years earlier, I thought I had everything. The mansion sat on a hill overlooking the city, glass walls, marble floors, a backyard big enough for my kids to play soccer. I was a self-made entrepreneur. I'd built my tech company from a laptop and a folding table into something investors admired. My children, Ethan, 8, and Lily, 5, used to race down the grand staircase every morning, laughing so loudly the sound echoed through the house. And Claire, she smiled in photos, hosted charity dinners, told everyone how lucky she was. What no one saw were the late nights she spent scrolling through her phone, the way she flinched whenever money was mentioned, or how cold she'd become once my company hit its peak. Then came the divorce. She claimed emotional neglect, financial manipulation, even hinted I was unstable. I laughed at first. I shouldn't have. Court is not about truth. Court isn't about truth, it's about stories and who tells them better. Claire cried, I explained. Claire accused, I defended. She painted me as a work-obsessed father who cared more about money than his kids. She said the mansion was toxic and that I used wealth to control her. And the worst part, she had witnesses. Friends, former employees, people I once trusted. By the end, the judge saw me as a cold provider, not a loving father. When the ruling came down, I lost custody, limited visitation. The mansion was ordered sold and proceeds split. I moved into a small, rented apartment with mismatched furniture and silence so loud it kept me awake at night. The kids were gone. The house was gone. And my reputation shattered. Rock bottom has a smell. Rock bottom smells like dust and old cardboard. That's what I realized the day I went to my late father's storage unit. He passed away 2 years earlier, right before the divorce. We hadn't been close at the end, I was always too busy. The storage unit had been auto-paid from an account I forgot existed. When I finally canceled it, the manager told me I had 1 week to clear it out. Inside were boxes of old files, photographs, and broken furniture. I didn't want memories, I wanted closure. I was about to leave when I noticed a small wooden trunk shoved into a corner. It was locked. I broke it open with a screwdriver. Inside were legal folders and one envelope. It was thick, yellowed, covered in dust. My name was written on it, in my father's handwriting. My hands started shaking. The envelope. Inside the envelope were documents. Not letters. Legal documents. Trust agreements, bank statements, corporate filings. And one handwritten note. Son, if you're reading this, it means things have gone very wrong. I didn't interfere because you needed to build your own life, but I also made sure you were protected, even from people you trust. My heart pounded as I flipped through the pages. The trust documents showed something unbelievable. Years ago, before my marriage, my father had helped structure my company's early investments under a separate holding entity, one Claire never knew about. More importantly, several assets she claimed in court as jointly managed had never legally belonged to our marriage. And then I saw it. A notarized affidavit. Signed. Dated. Proving Claire had knowingly falsified financial disclosures during the divorce. If this was real, everything changed. The truth comes out. I took the envelope straight to a new attorney, one with a reputation for being ruthless. She read silently for almost 20 minutes. Then she looked up and said, "Why didn't you bring this earlier?" Because I didn't know it existed. She smiled slowly. This, she said, tapping the envelope, is a bomb. We filed an emergency motion. The court reopened the case. Claire's confidence cracked the moment she saw the documents. The judge's expression changed too. For the first time, she wasn't the victim. She was a liar. The investigation uncovered everything: hidden accounts she controlled, false testimony, manipulated witnesses. Even worse, evidence that she deliberately restricted my access to the children against court guidelines. The courtroom that once felt like my execution chamber now felt different. This time, the truth spoke louder than tears. Justice isn't loud, it's final. The ruling took 2 weeks. When it came, the judge spoke carefully. Custody was revised to shared custody, with a clear path to primary custody. Claire was fined for contempt. Assets were reassessed. The mansion, legally mine. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just closed my eyes and breathed. Because winning doesn't erase the nights you cry alone. It doesn't rewind birthdays you missed. But it gives you something just as important: a second chance. Coming home. The first night my kids came back to the mansion, they stood at the front door like guests. Is this really ours again? Ethan asked. I knelt down. It always was. Lily ran inside, laughing, her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. The house didn't feel big anymore. It felt alive. Later that night, after they were asleep, I sat alone in the study. The dusty envelope lay on my desk. I realized something then. It wasn't just paper. It was my father's final protection. And a reminder that sometimes the truth doesn't disappear, it waits. Covered in dust. Until you're ready to find it.